Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Right now, today, if your car broke down, your landlord raised your rent, or you got hit with an unexpected medical bill, what would you actually do? Like, genuinely, what is the plan? Because for most people watching this, the honest answer is figure it out later, throw it on the card, call in a favor, hope the timing works out. And the scary part isn't that that happens once. The scary part is that it keeps happening, month after month, year after year. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you've started to wonder if this is just how your life works now. It's not. And that's what this video is about. My name is James, and I spend way too much time thinking about the mechanics of how people build or don't build financial stability from the ground up. If you're someone who's working hard, paying your bills, doing everything you're supposed to do, and still feels like you're one bad week away from a real problem, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it helps you out. Because today I want to talk about one specific number, $10,000. And before you roll your eyes and think, James, that's nothing, that's not real money, I need you to stay with me. Because this isn't a video about $10,000. It's a video about what crossing that threshold actually does to you, your psychology, your decisions, your options. And once you understand the mechanism, the number stops feeling small and starts feeling like the most important money you will ever save. Here's the thing. Most people get wrong about saving money. They think the goal is the number. Like once I have 10 grand, I can relax. But the number is almost beside the point. What you're actually building when you save $10,000 isn't a balance. It's a completely different financial identity. And the research on this is genuinely fascinating. A study published in the journal Science by researchers at Princeton and Harvard found that financial scarcity, meaning the chronic stress of not having enough, literally reduces your cognitive bandwidth. Not metaphorically, measurably. When your brain is consumed by financial anxiety, you have less mental capacity available for problem solving, for long-term thinking, for creativity, for literally everything else you're trying to do in your life. They called it the bandwidth tax. And here's the part that should really get you. The bandwidth tax is highest precisely when you need your brain working at full capacity the most, when you're trying to figure out how to get ahead. The scarcity makes it harder to escape the scarcity. It's a loop, and most people are stuck in it without even knowing it exists. Here's what most people don't realize. That loop isn't about how much money you make. It's about the gap between your income and your buffer. You can earn $60, $70, $80,000 a year and still be completely trapped in that loop if every dollar is already spoken for before it hits your account. And right now, according to the Federal Reserve's most recent report on household economic well-being, about 37% of Americans say they couldn't cover an unexpected $400 expense without borrowing money or selling something. Not 4,000, 400. And these aren't all low-income households. These are people who, on paper, look financially normal. But they have no buffer, and without a buffer, every single financial surprise, no matter how small, becomes a crisis. Think about what that actually costs you, not just emotionally, financially. When you have no savings and something goes wrong, you pay interest on the credit card you had to use. You pay the late fee because the timing was off. You take the first job offer instead of the right one because you can't afford to wait. You stay in the bad lease because the deposit on a better apartment feels impossible. You skip the doctor's visit hoping it resolves itself, and it doesn't. And now it costs 3 times as much. Every single one of those decisions has a price tag, and those price tags compound quietly over years. Financial instability isn't just stressful, it is expensive. That's the part nobody says out loud. This is where it gets really interesting, because the opposite is equally true. Financial stability isn't just peaceful, it's profitable. When you have a real buffer, a real cushion that isn't earmarked for anything. Not the next trip, not the car fund, just sitting there as a genuine emergency reserve. Your decision-making changes completely. You stop filtering every choice through the question, can I survive this? And you start filtering through the question, is this actually right for me? Those two questions produce different outcomes every single time. And that's the real value of $10,000, not the dollars themselves. It's the question it lets you ask. Because the moment you have that buffer, the moment you know that if something goes sideways this month, you're not immediately in crisis mode, you start making choices from a completely different place. You negotiate. You wait for the right opportunity instead of grabbing the first one. You say no to things that aren't right for you. You take the calculated risk you've been too scared to take. You do things that the version of you without savings would never do, not because you're suddenly richer, but because you're no longer operating from fear. And look, I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now. That sounds great, James, but I literally don't have anything left. At the end of the month, there's nothing to save. And I want to address that directly because I think this is the most important moment in this video. Most people approach saving the wrong way. They spend first and try to save what's left. And what's left is almost always nothing, because spending expands to fill whatever's available. This is Parkinson's law applied to money, and it will eat you alive if you let it. The only framework that actually works, and the one that every person who has ever successfully built a real financial buffer has used, is paying yourself first, before bills, before groceries, before anything else. An automated transfer on payday to a separate account, even if it starts at $50, even if it starts at $25. Now here's the specific mechanics, and I want you to actually write this down. First, the savings account cannot live at the same bank as your checking account. I know that sounds weird, but it matters. When it's one click away, you will use it. You need just enough friction that dipping into it requires a real decision. Open a high-yield savings account at a different institution. Marcus, Ally, SoFi. There are plenty of options. And you'll pick up a 4 to 5% annual yield on top of it right now, which adds up meaningfully over 14 or 18 months of building. Second, automate the transfer to hit on the same day as your paycheck before you can even see that money sitting there. Out of sight genuinely is out of mind, and your lifestyle will adjust to what's left far more easily than you think it will. Third, identify one expense, not 10, just one genuinely discretionary line item in your budget and redirect it. One subscription you could cut, one delivery habit you could have, one recurring purchase you could pause, just one. That one thing redirected consistently creates the psychological momentum that makes everything else easier. Here's what most people don't realize about that momentum piece. The psychology of saving shifts dramatically around the $1,000 marks. Getting from 0 to 1,000 is hard. Getting from 1,000 to 2,000 is a little less hard. By the time you're looking at $5,000 in that account, something has changed in you that is difficult to describe unless you've experienced it. You start to believe it. You start to see your financial life as something that responds to your behavior, not something that just happens to you. And that belief, that internal shift from victim to agent, is worth more than the $10,000 itself, because it doesn't stop at 10. People who build the first 10 almost always keep going, not because they're more disciplined than everyone else, because they've seen the proof, and proof is motivating in a way that theory never is. So let me give you the actual plan right now, and I mean right now, not after this video, not this weekend, today. Step 1, open a high-yield savings account at a separate bank. It takes about 10 minutes. Step 2, set up an automatic transfer for whatever amount is realistic, even if it's small. $50 a paycheck, just make it automatic. Step 3, don't touch it. Treat it like it doesn't exist except for a genuine emergency, not a vacation, not a sale, a real emergency. And step 4, and this one matters more than people give it credit for. Track it. Watch it grow. Celebrate the milestones, even the small ones, because your brain needs to see the mechanism working in order to stay committed to it. I want to be real with you about timelines, because I think unrealistic expectations kill more savings goals than actual financial hardship does. If you can automate $300 per paycheck, so $600 a month, you're looking at roughly 17 months to $10,000. That's not a long time. That's less than a year and a half, less than 2 football seasons, less time than most people have been thinking about getting their finances together without actually doing it. If you can only do $150 a paycheck, it takes longer, but you still get there. And the point isn't the speed, the point is the destination. And the person waiting for you on the other side of that number is going to operate completely differently in the world than the person you are right now. Because this is the thing I keep coming back to. The people who have crossed this threshold describe it almost universally the same way. They say they feel lighter, less reactive, less angry about money, stuff, less anxious about the future in general. Not because everything is solved, not because they're wealthy, but because for the first time, a bad month doesn't automatically become a bad year. And a bad year doesn't automatically become a financial hole that takes a decade to climb out of. They have margin, and margin, in money just like in life, is where everything good happens. $10,000 isn't retirement. It isn't financial freedom. It isn't the end of the journey. But it is the first real proof that the journey is possible. And for a lot of people, that proof is the thing they've been missing their entire adult lives. If this video helped you or shifted how you think about savings and the psychology behind building real financial stability, do me a favor. Share it with someone who's been stuck in that paycheck to paycheck loop and hasn't figured out why they can never seem to get ahead. Because sometimes all it takes is one conversation, one idea, one number to change the whole trajectory. I'll see you on the next one.